when you have an individual that does not practice regular washing of hands, it's an habit to avoid. Because really in an environment that we find ourselves,
yes,
at a time like this, even right from the time of COVID, you find out that
we were washing hands regularly.
often we were singing it like song.
Yeah.
And I also saw some of the advert that you played on Lassa Fever now. I could see that people were washing their hands. Because the truth is that if you don't regularly wash your hands,
Yes.
you transmit infections. You transmit infection from one place to the other. But just like we say in the health sector, the bacteria, the viruses don't fly.
Okay,
They don't jump. But you can carry from one place to the other with your hand. So if you wash your hands on a regular basis with soap and clean running water, definitely you are avoiding a lot of diseases. The attitude of not taking your bath minimum once in a day, preferably twice in a day, and having your teeth brushed every day, these are good habits.
Okay.
And if you don't do it, it makes it bad habit that you have to avoid. And also the attitude of, take for example, buying fruits, vegetables unwashed. And I also want to stress in particular for those that are in hospitals, healthcare workers. We advise them that when you move from one, before you get to attend to a patient, you wash your hands. As soon as you're through with that patient, you also wash your hands. By the time you close, at the end of the day, you want to go home, you must wash your hands. And when you get home, before you start embracing your younger ones or your children, you must definitely wash your hands so that you don't transmit infection from one place to the other. That is one. Also, at home, we also advise that people must wash their cooking utensils regularly. You must clean the kitchen regularly. And you must use what we refer to, particularly at a time like this, we must use what we refer to as rodent-proof or rat-proof container to contain, for example, your gari.
To store our food.
Store your food adequately well so that you don't have them infected. Some people just do it unconsciously. That whatever they want to eat, they just do it carelessly even at home. Unknowingly that some of these homes definitely are harboring rodents. And some of these rodents also carry one infection or the other. By the time you deposit such on food, it eats them. And such an individual can definitely come down with diseases.
Alright. I also know that you've mentioned earlier about running water. So what are you implying? Can't we wash our hands inside buckets of water or containers that also have water in them? Is it preferable or is it a medical advice to wash our hands?
It's always advisable. You use clean running water. Why clean running? By the time you wash, you are not washing it into a bowl that you are going to dip your hand into again. Someone can scoop the water for you while you are washing your hand, it's running it over your hands. It's still running, and the water is still clean. Not necessarily you must have a tap in a way. We improvise in an environment that we find ourselves in. It's still running and it's still clean. Instead of doing it in a bowl and you keep putting your hand in that same bowl, it's like recycling that infection in the first place. So that is what I mean by clean running water.
I also would ask you this. There are products, there are beverages that are stored in containers. We have some beverages that are in plastic containers, some in tin materials. But I want to ask you, how true is this assertion that rodents, they most often defecate on those products before we consume them? I want to find out from you. So if we need to consume such products, for instance, if we have to take soft drinks,
or be contaminated. It is true. Not to be infected by just taking a container and putting it in your mouth. If you have rats, particularly those that have carried the Lassa virus, like we have seen regularly, and you now start drinking it directly, not even using a clean cup that you have cleaned and put the whole thing in the cup before you start drinking it, you could be infected. It's like an individual buying an orange instead of you having it washed. You just decided to open the skin, the cover, and you start taking it. By the time you are taking it, it is almost certain that you will have carried some viruses or some bacteria and in that you inject it, and you could come down with one disease or the other.
How true is this, Doctor, that there are some cultural and traditional practices that we engage in this part of the world that are actually dirty, that can be tagged as dirty habits?
Let me start with female genital mutilation.
Okay.
It's a dirty habit. Dirty in the sense that if you see the instrument used, the razor used, it's a razor that they would have used for a lot of people. And that could carry infection from one person to the other. And I will also say that part of the habits that individually must avoid is using razor that can be used by another person or sharing items like razor blade, like tool. If I'm very serious.
I'd like to ask you as an adult that there are people who have spouses and, or maybe people who are in a very intimate relationship that share toothbrush. How healthy is this?
Wow.
Is this a dirty habit as well?
It is a dirty habit.
I would assume it's an expression of love or intimacy between a couple.
I don't advise couples to use the same brush. Why must you use the same brush? Is that expensive anyway in the first place?
No, it is
You
not.
can use one for the next 2-3 months before you change it. So what is so special about you want to express love? You have various ways of expressing love, not necessarily using the same brush.
All right. We also know that there are people who carry out their market activity. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Health and Environment Insights, and our guest today to Ondo State Governor on health. Doctor, before the break, we were discussing the exposure of market products, and you were giving us explanations as to this, if this practice is dirty or healthy enough.
It's a very dirty habit. And I may sincerely need to repeat myself that the State Minister of Health, Environment and Agriculture frown at this seriously. And we're trying as much as possible to do all that are legally possible to ensure that we eradicate this type of marketing or exposing food items.
Yes.
And the reasons are numerous. I will start by saying that by the time we do expose these items, throw them, and you start wasting time. By the time the symptoms become so enormous, such an individual will come down invariably with Lassa fever and may die. So what exactly am I saying? As a survivor of Lassa fever, exposing food in the market or on the roadside, either the kokoro or the fish or the gari, whichever one, or maize itself, is dangerous. It's a dirty habit that we must run away from.
Really? Okay, I also know that these are challenges and there must be solutions. There are ways to avoid it, because basically that's what we're discussing today. Now that we know some of these habits, how do we avoid them? How do we overcome these challenges?
Like I said, it's gradual. Now before you know it, you start conforming with good behavior and habits.
Now going by your office, in what way is government trying to enlighten people about these habits so we can avoid them and have a healthier and sustainable environment?
Thank you very much. Just like I said a while ago, I mentioned the State Minister of Health, which is also under the Special Advisor to Mr. Governor on Health for now. And we have met with them, we have reviewed most of the activities. And interestingly, the one that has to do with Lassa fever is something that is of great importance to everybody in the health sector in the state now. And we'll talk about it. The one that has to do with this same Lassa fever, you have staff